So this talk is an introduction to vector programming with portable SIMD. This is kind of the talk I would have liked to see when I was just starting to write SIMD code. It's a little bit confusing getting started, and a lot of the code online is a little bit too much on your face. So perhaps this is a good introduction for someone that wants to get into SIMD with Rust. So first, what is SIMD? So SIMD equals single instruction multiple data. And that's okay. That's a lot of terms. So what? What is the point of this? So the reason SIMD exists is because executing instructions on a CPU is expensive. Yeah, I mean, it's cheap. It's kind of what a CPU is meant to do, but we typically do not write applications at the hardware level and run them on the CPU. We usually write them at an application level, and we're sitting on top of an operating system that usually has some sort of scheduler and works with the kernel and has to deal with virtual memory. And only then can we get to hardware. So there is usually some overhead in running any CPU instruction. So that means running code can be quite expensive. Imagine we have 1,000 element array and we need to run 1,000 repetitions of a set of instructions over it. And in that time, the scheduler might switch contexts, then we might lose our cache affinity, or some allocation has to be done. I don't know, just a bunch of things might happen. So if we can reduce the number of repetitions that happen on the CPU, then perhaps we can gain a lot of performance. So what SIMD allows us to do is to parallelize specific instructions. So imagine if we have a 1,000 element array, but instead of having to do 1,000 repetitions to calculate what we need to calculate, perhaps we can do 500 or maybe 250 or maybe 125, maybe even 62. And this depends a lot on the hardware that you're running. But what we're trying to do is reduce the number of instructions we need to process a set amount of data. So a little bit of an overview of how SIMD works. Let's imagine we have two vectors, each of 4 elements, and we need to sum them up into a third vector with 4 elements as well. So traditionally, what we would do is that we would go to the first element. So we would go 1, then we go to the next array or vector 1, and sum it up into the next one 2. And we would repeat this for every single element of the array until we have our finished result. This means that for an 4 element array, it would take 4 iterations to sum the values of these two arrays. And this is very typical. This is kind of what we would expect. However, with SIMD, what this allows us to do is that we can take the 4 values in one, the 4 values in the other, and sum them up in a single step. This means that instead of having to iterate over the 4 values, we can just sum them up, and it would immediately give us the result we would need. So what is portable SIMD? So every single CPU architecture has its own version of SIMD. And even inside a single architecture, there might be multiple instruction sets for SIMD. So there's SSE, there's AVX2, AVX512. I know there are other talks, I think, tomorrow that cover these sort of things and the difficulties of targeting the different CPU instructions. But the fact is that it's complex to write. Also, the code we write, if we're targeting SIMD for a specific architecture, becomes very CPU specific. So this is a little bit of code that we will see later on, but this is kind of the CPU specific using the x86 intrinsics. And if you read this, this only applies for x86 CPUs with the AVX2 instruction set. So yeah, it becomes very specific to the CPU. So portable SIMD is then a nightly feature that offers some sort of abstraction over vector code. And what it allows us to do is write SIMD code that tries to compile the best it can to the different CPU instructions in different architectures. So one for AVX2, AVX512, and perhaps Neon on the ARM side of things. So a little bit on the portable SIMD syntax. It basically looks something like this. We have a SIMD type. This SIMD type has a generic inner type that can be, in this case, for example, an integer of 32 bits or perhaps a floating point number. And it also has a lane, so the number of lanes it has. So in this case, it's 4. If we can see this is an i32 with 4 lanes, so we can see it has like a little array of 4 elements. We can take that up to 8 elements. Perhaps if our CPU instructions let us, it might go even higher, but in this case, we don't have that. Maybe we can do it over bytes. So instead of operating over integers, we operate over bytes. So maybe we want a 16 element byte array, or maybe a 32 element byte array. And yeah, that's kind of how the SIMD, the portable SIMD syntax looks. Nothing very weird from what we've seen. So the example I wanted to show in this quick talk is filtering on a high performance table. So what we needed to build was a high performance financial dashboard, and we needed to build a very high performance table library to deal with that dashboard. So we needed to be able to filter over millions of records very quickly on the UI, and we need to build all the server side logic for this stateful table library basically from scratch. So we had full liberty in writing that table library. A little bit on the implementation notes. Old strings were first converted to factors. If you're from the R world, this might be quite familiar, but just imagine this is an integer representation of a specific string. So all strings are converted first to an index in an integer representation. So even though we are filtering strings, the code looks like we're basically filtering integers. This is also for performance reasons. And the exact implementation is not the code I'm going to show you, but it's the gist of the implementation, right? The actual implementation has a bunch of other logic around it, but just kind of wanted to get that point across. So this is kind of the procedure we use for filtering. This is the scalar version. And this goes inside some sort of for loop. So first we have the indices. So this is the indice of the row we are iterating over. We have, again, this is a columnar format. So we're going basically row by row over many columns. We have a should show column. In this case, we take a mutable reference to it. And this should show column basically has -1 if the value should be shown and 0 if it should be hidden. The reason why is because -1 is basically a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, a full bit, all ones on an integer representation. So that's why we use -1. And this helps a lot with the SIMD implementation later on. And we have values, which is, again, the index in the arena allocated buffers for the strings. And the matching level is the level we're trying to filter. So imagine we have hello. Hello is represented as a string 2. And the matching level would be 2 if we want to filter that table to only get the value 2. And this is, again, some of the logic. If flat sum, we get the value. We check if the value is equal to the matching level. And if it is, we assign the true mask. So this is the SIMD version of the how do you call it, of the filtering logic that I just shown. You can see the arguments are basically the same. So we have the I for the indice, we have the should show column, we have the values column. Main difference is that we have on the matching level, instead of a single I32, we have a SIMD array. In this case, taking in a constant for lanes compare store. Just as background, we used 8, so it's 8 I32s for this vector, but I kept it as a constant in case we wanted to change it later on. So we can imagine this matching level looking at some like an array like the one I'm showing on screen. So 8 values, they are all the same value because we're only trying to filter on that one value, but imagine it looks something like that. Then inside the function, we take in the values chunk. So instead of just indexing on the values vector, what we're doing is that we're taking n values from the array and converting it to a SIMD array. So if you imagine the values being the ones I'm showing on screen, we would have a compact SIMD array that has the values 1, 3, 2, 5, 78, 2, 55, and 2. Then what we can do is that we can actually do operations over these two vectors, right? So we have a vector matching level, we have a vector values chunk, and we can do the compare in a single instruction. So we're comparing 8 values to 8 values using a single instruction. And in this case, we would get a result that looks something like this. So the ones that don't match are go to 0, and the values that do match go to -1. This is what we typically call a mask. But we need to compare this back to an integer so that we can actually store this back on our should show vector. So now we have an actual SIMD integer array that looks like 0, 0, -1, 0, 0, -1, 0, -1. And what we can do then is we can copy this slice back into our original array. So in this case, it's not our original array, it's the should show array, but we can take those 8 values and kind of place them back where we want them to be. And we do this, again, all the operations are done to 8 values at the same time. If we take a look at the performance comparison on my CPU, this might differ on many different CPUs and architectures. On my CPU, it went from 174 microseconds for 65,000 elements to 19 microseconds for 65,000 elements. So this is about an 8 to 10x improvement using a lane count of 8, again, on my CPU. So in conclusion, translating code from a scalar version to a SIMD version can be much simpler using portable SIMD. There is a lot of performance left on the table if we do not make use of SIMD. So if we just use our scalar version, we might be leaving a lot of performance on the table. And also SIMD takes a lot of practice. It's not something that you kind of get just from watching this. So please rewatch this as many times as you need, and you can take a look at the examples. They're going to be left on GitHub. I'm going to be posting them soon enough on the presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you a lot,
And I
Andre.
think those were 10 minutes.
Yeah, very tight 10 minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Please post them in the chat and I can read them out to you, Andre. Um, okay, I can ask my own question. So we've had a lot of success using uh oh, there are other questions in the chat. I'll ask those first and last mine. So someone says, what resources do you recommend next to your examples to gain practice with SIMD?
So that's just the reason I made this talk. It's so hard to to find good examples online because typically the code that's optimized with SIMD in an open source project is not like very to teach. It's more I need to really optimize this procedure. So it's not the prettiest code ever. What I did to start learning SIMD is taking a couple procedures that you know very well on a scalar version. So one of them I tried is like, oh, let's do a sum, let's do a mean, let's do a standard deviation, let's do some sort of matrix multiplication, and let's translate that to SIMD. It's things that I know how to do well at a scalar version and kind of trying to bootstrap them up into SIMD. That's what worked for me. And I hope the example I showed was good enough of a resource. But yeah, it's hard to get that working well. I don't know if I answered the question. The answer is I don't know of a very good concise resource that there is.
Thank you. We have a number of questions come in. I don't know if we have time to get through all of them, but I'll try and get through as many as I can in the next couple of minutes. Someone asked, did you try compiling to WebAssembly? Did it require code modification?
I've never tried compiling to WebAssembly. So the logic that I was showing is it was an RPC call, so it's over a network, and yeah, this is server side code. I have never tried getting it to WebAssembly. I don't know how that would work though. I don't know how the WebAssembly support for SIMD operations is.
Um, Next question. When optimizing, how do you determine when to write SIMD and when to write GPU code?
Um, well, that's a really hard question. You would kind of have to benchmark. So if you've optimized as much as you can on the CPU and you've read perhaps the assembly code that this throws out and you've seen like, okay, I'm at the limit of what my CPU can really do, then maybe going to GPU code makes sense. GPU code and that it has its own limitations and its own difficulties. And there's things with memory bandwidth and a lot of other limitations. I would say the only way to really to determine if one makes more sense than the other is to actually measure. I've tried doing certain procedures on GPU and they were actually slower on GPU. Not because the GPU was slower, but because the GPU required moving memory from one place to another, and that may take more overhead than it's worth. So measure is really the answer.
Lucas asks, how can I recognize whether SIMD is applicable to my problem?
So it might not be applicable to to all problems. What you want to try to find is places where you have loops and you're basically indexing over stuff. So there, for example, if you're parsing something like JSON, right? The actual parsing and the if statements to branch out into the different that might not be SIMDable, and it most definitely isn't SIMDable. But what is SIMDable is detecting the different characters that you need for parsing. So if you're in a really long string in JSON, you can kind of go through it and blast through it. But if you find a quote or an escape character, then you need to go into the branching. You may use SIMD for finding those characters and then go into the non-SIMD code, which is much lower. But again, you're trying to accelerate the parts that need the acceleration. So yeah, try to that it's breaking down the problem into its more core parts and try to see where there's the least amount of branching is basically what I'm